Recording in progress. Hello, everyone, and welcome to School of Speech, the podcast designed for all of us school-based SLPs, presented by SpeechTherapyPD. I'm your host, Carolyn Dolby, and I am so delighted that you are here with us today. Remember, each episode is a chance for us to connect, recharge, and explore practical strategies, fresh perspectives, and a little inspiration that brings us back, that we can bring back to our students and our teams. Well, today we are going to dive into the heart of what we do, and that is supporting communication, fostering confidence, and celebrating the impact we make every single day. So, whether you're tuning in from your car, your classroom, or you're already cozied up at home in your soft clothes, this is your space to learn, laugh, and lead with purpose. And today we are exploring being trauma-informed SLPs, supporting school-age students with the incredible Rachel Archambault. I said it right. Yes,
That was
woohoo!
so good.
I've been worried. I've been worried. Let me tell you a little bit about Rachel. She is a speech language pathologist, and she is the program specialist for the Broward County Public School System. She's Following a nationally publicized traumatic event at her workplace, Rachel began searching for meaningful ways to support both her students and herself in the aftermath. And through that journey, she discovered the transformative power of trauma-informed care. So today, Rachel is going to be sharing her message that she does share nationally. She speaks to SLPs, educators, healthcare professionals, all about integrating trauma-informed care and practices into their work. Her mission is to help create safer, more supportive environments where students and staff can all heal, grow, and thrive. I am so honored to have you with us today. She's going to be sharing insights, experiences, and passion for trauma-informed practices in our schools. All right, y'all, I want everyone to settle in for another amazing episode. Don't forget, every episode is worth 1.1 ASHA CEUs. I always mess that up. And if your state license requires live CEUs and you are hanging out with us today, well, first of all, thanks for being here. And second, I do want to make sure that you get credit for listening tonight. So please be sure at the end of today that you complete all the course modules, including the one that says complete course that you are going to find on your Speech Therapy PD account. Next, we absolutely encourage and love questions from our live audience. So please use the chat. It's easier for me to watch the chat than the Q&A box. So please, if we could exclusively use the chat, that really helps me out. I'll be moderating that throughout our talk today. But to get us started, just to let you know, Rachel is in Florida and I'm in Oregon. So we want to know where everybody else is listening from. So if you're listening live, please jump in the chat and let us know where you're from. We'll see if we have any neighbors with us today. While you are jumping in, a little more housekeeping. I think I kind of went through some of Rachel's disclosure. She is employed by Broward County Public Schools, and she is the owner of PTSD SLP LLC. And I'm gonna give you the link for that too, because I know people are gonna want that. She's also an ASHA member and a member of ASHA SIG 20. She's also a member of the Florida Speech and Hearing Association and the Chat Advisory Board member as well. For me, I'm a salaried employee of Portland Public Schools. I receive compensation from Speech Therapy for hosting School of Speech. Non-financial for me, I do consult for school districts across the nation, supporting their dysphagia support, program development, and staff training. And I also volunteer with Feeding Matters on their education committee. Enough about me. I am so excited to get ready to introduce Rachel Archambault. Hi, Rachel.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh my gosh, so excited. We've got a lot. Oh, see, we've got bicoastals here. We've got tons of people from across the nation. I love this. Oh, look, you've got some Florida
I do.
friends.
I do.
Look at that. Hi, Florida. I love it. I love it. Um, Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that your work and your message just really is going to resonate with so many of us SLPs. And I know that our listeners are here today because they are eager to learn from your experiences. So how about if we just kind of start from the beginning, if you don't mind starting with your journey, what led you to explore trauma-informed care, and how you brought that perspective into your work as an SLP. And also maybe, if you don't mind, some of us that may be new to the conversation, how you define trauma in the context of our settings, maybe as
Okay.
well. That's a big ask.
It's a
Take
heavy
it-
question.
Yeah,
Yes.
start where you would like.
Perfect. So my name is Rachel. I am born and raised in South Florida. I grew up in Broward County Public Schools. I went there K through 12.
That's cool.
So I work in the district that I grew up in. My mom also taught in that before I started living, I guess. So I work for Broward County Public Schools, and my first year as a fully credentialed CCC-SLP, I experienced a traumatic event at work as a school SLP in Broward County. And some of you might be familiar with the name of the school. It's Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. I don't typically, when I present, go into anything related to like what happened on campus. Some of you might recognize the name, but in the discussion about trauma-informed care, the only reason that it's appropriate to talk about is because that's what led me to trauma-informed care. I needed a reason to care. I needed a reason to care. When you have gone through trauma, my students had gone through trauma, the entire community, I couldn't find a reason to care about a lisp in the context of everything, and neither could the kids. So it was about like feeling safe on campus again, because we're going back to the scene of the crime every single day. So it was about safety. And when I looked at how to support traumatized children, I found trauma-informed care. I found trauma-sensitive services. Trauma-informed care is what we're talking about today. And trauma-informed care, I like to think of it, is when you don't know what trauma your students have gone through. You don't know what the staff that you are working with, your coworkers, you don't know what they've gone through. Trauma-informed care is preventative. How can we prevent causing harm? And the definition of trauma, I mean, there's different definitions across the board, any book that you look in, but the word that comes up in all of the definitions is overwhelms, because trauma isn't rational. It's not logical. It's something that your brain feels and is trying to keep you safe. So one of the definitions I use is trauma overwhelms the ordinary systems of care that give people a sense of control, connection, and meaning. So pre-trauma, you might be able to control things, have connections, have meaning. But after trauma, your brain is stuck in survival mode a lot of the time. And all it's worried about is keeping you safe. So you're not as easily able to control, connect, and have meaning. So that is, I guess, a short answer of all the things you asked. But I found trauma-informed care at rock bottom. How do I help support a community that's been traumatized, including myself? And using trauma-informed care allowed us to get back to working on our goals, our speech and language goals. It allowed us to get back to academics once we feel safe, supported, all the pillars of trauma-informed care, which we are going to talk about today.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I know it is very personal to you. I think we all sort of have a testimony of what brought us to where we are now. And this is a safe place, and I really do appreciate, I want people to feel, comfortable to share what they want to share, and I love it. I just really appreciate your openness with us today. I know that I'm very interested in always having a better understanding of my practice, and so I'm super excited to get to just really be open to listen and learn and just understand, because understanding our clients and our students is going to make us better clinicians.
Absolutely.
Using the word, overwhelmed, I just, one of my last episodes was on like core values and boundaries because of being just, we're overworked, we're overwhelmed. So I think being overwhelmed is something speech pathologists just in general have a full understanding. But I think understanding that we might be some of us might be overwhelmed with work or life and things like that, but understanding what it means, maybe what overwhelm means through the lens of trauma. You know, and I think you said it very well when you said it's a brain, I think you said a brain function of trying to keep you safe, which made me think of that. If you are in that constant fight, flight, freeze, fawn, I can't remember, I think if I got them all. If you're in this constant state of that, that's where your brain is.
Yeah.
How can you, yeah.
So let me break that down even further.
Thank
So
you.
your brain is either in survival mode or learning mode.
Oh, okay.
So learning brain, survival brain. And this is just like a very micro way of looking into what is happening to your brain. So if, let's say, fight, flight, freeze, fawn, I think there's like 7 total, but like typically we know fight, flight, freeze, fawn, maybe. If your brain is in survival mode, we can't be working on our speech goals, or maybe we're working on our speech goals with our students, but it's not going anywhere. They're not absorbing it. So for example, we have 2 sides of that fight, flight, freeze. So we have hyperarousal, and this is going into the polyvagal theory of just what happens to our body and our brain. So we have hyperarousal on one side, and we have hypoarousal, which is freeze, on the other side. So some people in a survival mode look blank and checked out. They look like they're daydreaming. That is a survival response. So you might look at a student that's in your classroom and they're like, oh my gosh, they're always daydreaming. I bet they were up so late at night playing video games and Roblox and whatever the kids do. But really, maybe it's a survival response that they're just blank and checked out. And on the opposite side of that, we have the hyperarousal, which is fight, flight. So those kids get a lot of the response because if they're aggressive, if they're running out of the room, we are able to see that at a much easier, we're able to identify it easier than some of the kids that are in freeze. And often they get punished if they're fighting and flight. So I actually, one of the schools that I support 45 schools in Broward County, all high schools, non-traditional schools. So it's behavior schools. I actually presented at jail yesterday for students that have been arrested. So I got a question from one of the staff members, and he said, these students fight for no reason. And I go, is it actually no reason, or are they in fight? They don't know what is a threat. This is an unfamiliar place. They're told that they might be jumped in their sleep. So is it actually for no reason, or is their brain keeping them safe? And that also causes them to not sleep. It is a domino effect. So yes, that is an extreme example of the jail system, but let's also move that in terms of what might be going on at home, what might be going on at school. Trauma doesn't just happen at home. It happens at school as well. If they are not sleeping because they are worried about a teacher who is very mean to them, or a classmate who is traumatizing them and bullying them on a daily basis. These are something that puts them into the survival modes: fight, flight, freeze, fawn.
I get, and another thing that kind of got into my head when you're saying that, you know, they might be responding to something, I think something that might not be a big deal to us is big deal. Like what might be chill for me, like I can handle something, somebody else, it just can't handle it. Like,
absolutely.
You know, right. And we just we all react differently.
Yes. And I'm so glad you said that, because that leads into trauma is an individual's perspective. So it is not fair for us as practitioners. Now I'm talking to you, SLPs, PTs, whoever, healthcare educators. We use our adult brains and adult experiences. Let's say our high school student is going through a breakup. I heard when I was a high schooler, don't even worry about him. You won't remember him in 30 years. Now that is a dismissive comment to make when they are going through probably the most traumatic thing that has happened to them. So yes, we can look at it in terms of what we've experienced in our life, but this is traumatic for them, possibly. This is a hard thing that they're going through, and they're looking for support, or even just validating emotions is the best way to help someone cope. You can easily say, that does sound hard. I'm listening, instead of saying, don't even worry about that guy. You won't remember him in 30 years. So it's that kind of mindset shift that I'm asking for trauma-informed providers of what is happening. And we can't be assigning a severity to trauma.
Right.
So I think that's kind of where you were going, that I mean,
Yes.
we're using our adult brains and our adult experiences to judge what is trauma for another. And that is not our role. We can't do that. It's based on the individual and their experiences.
Right. It's kind of like, well, I had to do it. Or
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
right? Like
Yes.
you hear maybe another generation say, well, when I was in school,
Yes.
we didn't have a choice. We didn't have, we
Yeah.
just had to suck it up.
Buckle
Or
down,
buckle
bootstraps,
down.
whatever. Even in grad school, all of us SLPs, we have the generations before us saying, well, you guys had the internet, I had to do this, or,
Right.
like we have different generational things that happen that are absolutely valid, but it doesn't mean the person's experience is less valid. So we cannot be assigning value or
Yeah.
severity to a trauma. And that is something I definitely want to hammer home for all of you, that there's actually a theory in trauma work called big T and little t trauma. And I don't even teach about it because it assigns a value of like what might be seen as a traumatic something. Let's say, for example, a natural disaster. A natural disaster could be considered a big T, something that could cause PTSD, or it could be a little t. But that depends on what the experience was during it. So why is it under any of those categories? The word divorce for some of you might be a highly traumatic event, and others might be not so traumatic. So when we take our adult experiences and we have a student come into our classroom and we find out that their parents are going through a divorce, and we say, oh, it wasn't that bad, that actually was fine for me. We are not in the same situation that they are in. We don't know what their coping strategies are. So we can't just assign value to it. We just have to listen and help support as SLPs, as providers, and be that validating ear. And validating does not mean agreeing.
Okay. Tell me more.
When I say validating, a lot of people go, well, I'm not going to agree with this person if they're saying the most terrible thing. And validating just means I hear you. I'm listening. You don't have to say, I completely agree. That was a great thing you did. And it was actually like a terrible thing that they did. Like validating doesn't always mean agreeing. So some people get stuck on that when they learn trauma-informed care and they're like, I'm not validating this. That was an inappropriate behavior. They shouldn't have done that. That you don't need to validate that behavior. That's not what trauma-informed care is. Trauma-informed care acknowledges what is going on, but it doesn't mean agreeing all the time.
Right. So I know we're going to get into it. So I just want to make sure that I'm hearing, because I think that's a really important point when you say we need to be heard.
Yes.
Right. And so validating is saying, I hear you.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Trying to understand. You might not understand because you wouldn't react in the same way, or it wouldn't affect you in the same way. But something that is I kind of remember when we say, oh, is that a big problem or a little problem? And that's putting the value on it. But
it
somebody's
does. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. So that is a really hard concept, especially for SLPs, because we've been taught this big problem, little problem thing. And we're using our adult brains to decide. And yes, there is such a thing as like understanding, like, is this a big deal in the scope of things? But maybe to this child, especially for students with autism, it is a big deal. But how do we help support them in that? We don't need to say, yes, that is a massive deal and whatever, but we say, I hear you. You sound really frustrated that someone took your iPad. I would be frustrated too. It's a very expensive thing, right? So we can talk, that's kind of like the validating thing. That does sound frustrating, instead of, don't worry about it, your parents will buy you another one.
Right. So we are validating their
feelings. Yes, their feelings, their perspective, and you don't need to agree. I hear you.
Right.
That does sound hard. You're having a bad day. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. And I have more examples of that, but that's just, it's validating what they're feeling and making sure that you are a participant in the conversation rather than saying, don't worry about that. Everything's going to be okay, because some things aren't, and that's okay too.
Right. It's kind of like when you're telling a story to your friend or to a colleague,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're like, oh, yeah, my cousin's neighbor's best
Yes,
friend had that same thing, and she was just fine, honey.
exactly.
And you're
Right.
like, I don't care about your cousin neighbor's
Yes.
best friend's
Yes. Yes.
dog,
Yes.
right?
Exactly.
This
Yes.
is
That's
what.
exactly it. Yes. Exactly.
Yes. Wow. So our first step, I get, I know we're going to break down the pillars, is
Mm-hmm.
so validate. Validate
Yes.
is kind of just the beginning.
Yes. Yeah. That's even, that's how to respond, I would say.
Okay.
And I present up to like 6 hours on trauma-informed care. So even just like the speaking component, how to work with our clients, that is an entire section, because
Okay.
I want to think of it more in terms of like, would a therapist respond like that? Like if you're talking to a therapist, they're not going to say, well, one time, exactly the example that you gave.
Yeah, yeah.
It's your time to express. And I consider myself a high school SLP. That is the age group that I like working with. They just
Hmm.
want someone to hear them. They want someone to listen to what they're saying. So I can say that does sound really tough versus it doesn't matter. Let's get back to this right now. We've got speech to do. That's the kind
Hmm.
of dismissive stuff that that language plays into the pillars. They are not going to see us as safe. They are not going to trust us with that information. They are not going to feel like we have collaboration. So we'll go into the pillars. We'll talk about that. But trauma-informed care is a mindset shift.
Okay.
It is not a prescriptive therapy technique. It's not like first you do this step and then this step, but this is just a way of speaking. There's language changes that we can do, and validating emotions is one of the things that we can do as a trauma-informed provider.
Okay. You just said a whole lot.
I did, I know.
I know, but it's okay because we're going to break this down, because I want
Yes,
to, I want you to tell me where we should go next, because I want to know what the pillars are.
yes.
But then I really want to know how to mind shift the way I speak and the way that I use my body.
Amazing.
So wow.
So I would say first we need to talk about what is trauma-informed care. I'm
Okay,
giving a
okay.
lot of examples here of like
Mm-hmm.
language changes and whatever, and we'll get to that. But trauma-informed care, sometimes you might hear as trauma-informed education, trauma-informed practice. I just always generalize to trauma-informed care. There are typically 3 to 4 R's of trauma-informed care, which is realizing the prevalence of trauma, recognizing how trauma affects all individuals involved with the program, organization, system, including its own workforce. So you even brought up the word overwhelmed earlier today, like our
Yeah.
jobs are overwhelming, because trauma-informed care is just as much about us as it is our clients. So we're going to talk about dysregulation and regulation. That is a major component, because if we're screaming at a kid to stop yelling, that's
Oh,
only going to escalate the situation, and we cannot regulate someone. So we'll talk about that. And then responding by putting this knowledge into practice. So our goal is to resist re-traumatization. We don't want to continue to cause harm. We don't want to cause re-traumatization. So there are little things that we can do. If we view trauma-informed care as preventative, we are not going to know what trauma people have experienced. Our students in front of us, let's say you have a class of 30 students, you are not going to know all of the trauma that they've experienced. So there are general things that we could do to make sure that we are not causing harm. Yes, things are going to slip through the cracks. Let's say we have a student who we find out there's a specific trauma that they went through. Maybe we can adjust some additional things to be trauma sensitive or trauma specific to that student. So an example of trauma sensitive, I'm in Florida. I have a lot of near drowning cases that I've worked with over the years. So they are with me due to some near drowning event. And when I have those students in my room and I know that history, I preventatively remove anything with water play, whether that's a book about bath time, a book about the beach, anything
wow.
like water related, because I don't know if that parent is going to burst into tears when they're in my office. I don't know if that kid is like fearful of water. Maybe the mom walks in and says, oh no, they love bath time. That's our favorite part of the day. Great, books are going back in, but it's something preventative that I can do when I know something has happened. For the majority of your students, you are
You
not
won't
going to
know.
know. You're not going to know. So what can we do to make sure we're not causing harm to that 100% of kids? And then how can we better, when we know, we can adjust some things, but we're just talking about like trauma informed today. So when just those kids, we don't know what they've gone through. How can we make sure we're not causing harm?
I love that. Okay, so let's go there. Let's start with it, because I want to be 100% preventative. Like I'm in.
Yes.
Tell me what I need to do.
I love
Tell me
that.
what I need to do.
Okay. So let's start with the pillars.
Okay.
So the pillars of trauma-informed care, and this is from SAMHSA, which is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. Depending on where you look, there's anywhere from 3 to 12 pillars of trauma-informed care. The ones that I like to go with are the ones from SAMHSA: safety, choice, collaboration and mutuality, trust and transparency, empowerment, voice, choice, and cultural, historical, and gender issues. So some of these words are grouped together. So trust and transparency. Trust and transparency is one that I talk about all the time, because it's an easy one to break. And we don't even know that we're doing it. So in terms of my speech people who are on, let's say that you want to get 100 drills of an R sound from like a 5-year-old. And they're doing 5, they get exhausted and they're like, Miss A, how many more do we have to do? And you say, don't worry about it, we're only going to do 5 more. And then you go on for 95 more. Maybe they don't know how to count, but what they're doing in their head is they go, I don't trust this lady. She lied to me. That's way more than 5. So this is kind of where we have that big problem, little problem, or like, was this a big deal? Was it not? In our adult brains, we go, yes, it's not a big deal at all. And they go, yeah, that was a big deal. I don't trust her. She lied to me. So
thank you. That was a really great example. Like so simple. And all of us are probably going, oh, I do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was really trying to write down your pillars fast.
I know. I
did
went fast there.
But here we go. I kind of put 1 to 2 together. So I got safety, choice, then I added voice because I thought you said voice, but I might have been wrong.
You're right.
Trust and transparency, empowerment.
That was empowerment, voice, and choice all grouped together.
That is how that happened. Okay.
Yep. Collaboration and mutuality was another one.
Okay.
And then the last one is cultural, historical, and gender issues. Those are all grouped into one. So how I would go about this is asking yourself with a specific client, with a specific session, with a student maybe you're struggling with, how do I add more safety for this student? Okay. And you could even ask, like, what would make you feel safer here? Like, for someone who came from a school that something bad happened, if they want to face the door and I'm saying, no, you need to sit at the desk and look at me when their back is turned toward the door, I'm not providing a safe environment for them. So I can say, hey, what would make you feel safer here? And they say, actually, Miss A, can I be like facing the door? I'll go like this. Yes, that's not a big deal. Can you still do speech and language with me? Yes. So we don't need to have these like unbending rules. This is an easy thing that we can do to provide safety. And safety is physical, emotional, socially, emotionally. Like there are so many layers to safety. So it's not just like us saying you're safe. They have to
you're safe in me. Yeah. Don't worry, you're safe with me. Actually, no, they might not be.
Exactly. And it's their brain. It's their brain that's saying something, there's a threat here. Something is wrong. And a threat is just dysregulation. It's just a demand. So maybe that's putting work on them. Maybe they're in survival mode and they're like, I'm so stressed here, I can't even focus. So I always ask myself, where can I add more safety for this student? Where can I add choice? That is an easy one that we can do. So we can say, hey, you're coming into my room right now. Would you like 1 minute or 3 minutes to like sit in the corner and just like have some transition time? Some of them say, I want to get started right away. Some of them say, just give me 3 minutes. And that's a choice that we can give. Or we have 2 activities, 3 activities planned, and we say, which 2 would you like to do?
Yeah.
Like easy way of adding choice. Where else can you add choices? So when you reflect back on your sessions, you might be able to say, ooh, I could have added another choice here. So trauma-informed care is very reflective. It's looking at past examples that you had, a situation that you currently have that might not be going as well as you want it to. Always reflect and say, where can I add safety, choice, collaboration and mutuality, trust and transparency. I gave that example of like, how am I fostering trust and being transparent? Transparent is a big one. I know some kids have never seen their IEP. They don't know
Right.
why they're in speech. So it's our job to empower them, which is the other pillar, empowerment, voice, and choice. Do they have a say in their goals, in being in speech at all? So all of these provide a trauma-informed setting for them to succeed in. And when their brains are in the learning brain, they will meet our goals. If they are not getting safety, choice, collaboration, trust, and transparency, it's gonna take them longer, if at all, to get out of that survival mode with us. And we're not gonna be meeting any goals.
Right. So again, it boils down to the efficacy of our treatment, right? So we don't keep doing the same thing without the outcome.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
We've got to make a change.
Right.
And and I love the fact that these things that you're talking about with us today is for everybody.
Yeah.
It's for everybody. These are the mind shift that we need to start thinking about.
Absolutely.
Right. I love that. Safety, trust and transparency, empowerment, voice and choice, collaboration and mutuality, cultural, historic, and gender. I
Yes.
think I got them.
Yes, you did. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going because I know that we're all here. We are all here because we care and we want to, we now have those pillars. What can we do? I know we just you started with talking about the mind shift, but what are some meaningful shifts that we can make in our daily routines?
I'm so glad you asked. I'm so glad you asked.
Oh, good.
So, like I said, there are no steps for being trauma informed, but there are certain things that we can do. And again, it's a lot of reflection. So number one is understanding our triggers of dysregulation. What are our stressors? So I meet so many people that get stressed and they have no idea what stressed them out. Or let's say they are driving to work in the morning and they get cut off by someone in traffic and they stay in fight all day. So they're stuck in that hyperarousal and they have no coping strategies. So it's understanding our triggers of dysregulation, what stresses us out, and also having coping strategies to get out of that. So a lot of people just stay in it, and we're not going to have effective speech therapy if we're screaming at a kid or even just not being receptive to them. If we are stuck in fight or flight and we're asking of them to be on their best behavior and everything. You also mentioned the fawn response, which those kids are kind of like the brown nosers. They are like the helpers by our side. And that is a survival technique. Especially we see that with like kids at home who are living in an abusive situation. They learn to placate the abuser so that abuse doesn't happen. So with authority figures in general, they are right by your side. They want to assess your mood and everything. So if you're coming in and you are angry, they are going to shut down. They are going to fawn. They are going to be right next to you. And you're saying nothing's wrong. And you're angrily saying nothing's wrong. They're going to be like, oh, I'm about, like, something is going to happen based on their experiences. So they are very good at understanding body language and tone. So we need to make sure that we are having the tone that we mean to have and not confusing them and not re-traumatizing them. So one, understanding our triggers of dysregulation and having coping strategies for that. Two is understanding how prevalent trauma is. It is a national health crisis, a national public health crisis. Alternative language, which we talked about validating right in the beginning.
I am so sorry. We glitched for just a second. What you said? I heard the prevalence national, and then
altering our language. So we talked about validating emotions in the very beginning. Altering our language is one of the things that we can do. And I'm going to give you other examples of altering our language, and then structure of sessions. What can we do during our sessions to be as trauma informed as possible?
All right. So I think we're all here, and I think we are becoming more aware of how prevalent, especially all of us coming out of COVID, and um, for that right
Yes.
there.
Yes.
I had an episode on long COVID too, so it's like all that. This is just perfect that you're
Yeah,
here. That's all kind of coming together. Um, I wanted to go back just for a hot second
of course.
for understanding our triggers. I just did a really neat thing about polyvagal. So when you said that, I was like, "Ooh, I know what that is now."
Yay. Yay.
But understanding our intro perception, understanding our body on the inside. Uh, Kids don't might not understand that.
Nope.
But how can we understand a child if we don't understand ourselves?
Bingo.
Right?
Yep.
Is that, yeah, going to like, that's why we really do need to know our triggers so we aren't triggered, because we are of no help to anyone if we ourselves are in a
Yes.
fight or flight,
Absolutely.
overwhelmed, just, and right. And it can be for us having to go to work in just, some of us might be going to work in not a great environment,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sorry, that's terrible.
Absolutely. We have stressful jobs. Like
Yes.
I want to validate that we have stressful jobs. We work with kids who might be hurting us. Like
Yeah, and
I
that very much so. Yes.
so that is a part of it. We might be dealing with a toxic work environment. We might have coworkers who are dysregulated all the time and take it out on
Yes.
everyone else because they have no
Yes.
coping strategies. So that person cannot be trauma informed if they don't understand what's happening to themselves and their body. So I want to take you all through a reflection
Okay.
of how to understand what is happening to you. So maybe you're someone who is really identifying with this and saying, I don't know what my stressors are. I just know that my job stresses me out, but I don't exactly know what it is. So starting at the top, do you know what stresses you out? Maybe your answer is yes or no. So start thinking about what things at work, what things specifically stress you out. For example, I'm very affected by noises. Doesn't have to be a loud noise. That's the PTSD part. I am diagnosed with PTSD and ADHD, which is why I call myself the PTSD SLP on Instagram. But I find that a lot of adults don't know exactly what it is. They're just angry. So start to identify, write down, ooh, I was really bothered by that lawnmower sound that was going on for 7 hours outside my classroom. That is a big stressor for me. I wake up in a deep sleep with a lawnmower outside. That is such an angry feeling for me. Do you know what you look like when you're stressed? Do you know what happens to your body? Are you clenching? Is your body tight? Do you shut down? Am I able to identify when you're stressed? Can you do it in the moment? Can you do it after the fact? In the moment would be great. That's better. If you're able to say, wow, I'm being really mean right now because I'm stressed, let me like reflect and do some coping strategies. Or after the fact, can you go, oh, that behavior earlier today that I did was because I was stressed.
Mhm.
How do you regulate yourself when you're stressed? So this is where I find the most difficulty with SLPs or adults in general, that yes, they can identify that they're stressed, but they don't have any coping strategies with it. They just sit in it all day and they don't know what to do with that. That's really difficult because learning is not going to happen there and you're not going to be comfortable in your job. Is my dysregulation negatively impacting a client? Is my emotional regulation negatively impacting a session? And then finally, am I causing harm? So like you said at the very beginning,
Mm.
like none of us go into this profession to cause harm, but
I know.
I would like to say that we have caused harm in some way. And how can I prevent doing that in the future rather than the mindset of saying, I've never caused harm and I never will, because you have nowhere to go from there.
That is so heavy.
It is heavy.
No, I mean it. I literally felt, because I just had a physical response to that because of something that's happened in my past. And what I realized is I don't know if that teacher. I don't think that teacher really meant to harm me, even though she did. Um, I said it on another podcast
Okay.
about I came from Australia and I had an accent, and the teacher, I definitely don't have one now.
No.
Anyway, that she wanted it to gone.
Yep.
And I think maybe in her mind, maybe she wanted me to fit in, maybe because I was awkward. I don't know. Anyway, that kind of helped me for a second when you said, oh my gosh, you really give me a physical moment. She probably didn't mean me harm, and I've been angry.
No.
Okay, so okay, thank you. I'm going to put
Of
that aside
course,
for right now.
we'll
Sorry,
talk about
that's
that
another
later.
thing. I'm putting that to the side because I want to know about some. And I'm sure other listeners are wanting. Give us those calming strategies for us. What should we do?
Okay,
Or
so
what can we do? Because I know it's not a step by step. Just throw out some because everyone's different.
everyone
for sure.
is different, so you have to find what works for you. I am someone who overheats very easily, and I live in Florida, which is awful.
Oh.
So I always have, I mean, I have a water bottle that keeps cold all the time, so you'll see me drinking that. If I get overheated, that is a way. I have ice packs in my lunchbox because
wow.
I really respond to cold. Even just washing my hands, if I'm in a room that like I can wash my hands with cold water, that jumpstarts my vagus nerve and I'm able to get back into that. I also have fidgets everywhere from my PTSD, ADHD, whatever it is, that keeps me focused and grounded. I usually have a bowl for my high school kids of fidgets just because that does help them focus. I also want to bring you through the rest strategy. So
okay.
if you are dysregulated, so let's say something happened in your classroom, a kid did something that stresses you out. Here's what I would recommend. Number 1, relax. Number 2, evaluate. Number 3, set an intention. And number 4, take action. So that spells out rest.
Okay.
So with rest, that's stopping and taking a breath, stepping away, not acting impulsively. So instead of action and reaction right away, you are pausing. You are trying to absorb what's happening. You're gathering your thoughts first. Then you evaluate. Ask yourself what's happening. What are the facts? Observe what's happening with you physically, emotionally, and mentally. So this is where a lot of people mess up, where they start filling in the gaps. So let's say a kid spilled glitter everywhere. Yeah, that's really frustrating, right? We know glitter doesn't go away. But if we start before we evaluate and you go, you did that on purpose, you know that was going to cause a mess. And maybe they didn't. Maybe they didn't know that they had the strength to open that. And they are also children. The impulsivity is very quick. So we cannot hold them to adult standards. And just by evaluating, that's what I'm doing right now, is evaluating what just happened in that situation. For setting an intention, it's finding a target, goal, or plan of what you're going to do, deciding, picking a coping skill or advanced problem solving. So this is where, if you're really stressed out by this, if they just broke your iPad, which has happened to me before, I'm going to decide, you know what, I need to take a couple deep breaths. I'm just going to walk outside. I'm going to drink some water and get myself back again before I go respond. And that's the take action part. Put plan into motion, proceed mindfully, slowly, and with awareness, and calmly and effectively. So this is a method. This is in the Dialectical Behavioral Therapy Journal, which is a type of like therapy. So this is a way of, yes, we are going to get stressed. What do we do about it? Here is something that we can do. Here's how we stop ourselves from just reacting, which is where a lot of the hurt comes from. It's filling in those blanks. So this is an example, and you can use this example for examples of sessions that you've had in the past or something that comes up. Try to use it as you go.
I love this, especially like rest. That I put it in the chat because I think that's important, because I think we can kind of that mob mentality, like when something happens and people, it just can just froth.
Yeah.
Right? How many of us have been sucked into that? You know, and next you know, we're in it.
Right.
And our kids get us in it.
Yeah. But also think of it as a survival response from us. Like if we are dysregulated, so that's our brain in survival mode, and we are trying to figure out what just happened. We're stressed. We need to get ourselves back to that window of tolerance, because if we're dysregulated, we cannot regulate another child or another adult.
Exactly, that co-regulation.
Exactly.
Right? So we do, what I am hearing you loud and clear is we really do need to take care of us.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So taking care of us is also going to be taking care of our kids.
Yes.
Right? And that first to do no harm I love what
Yes.
you said, we probably have, but we didn't mean it,
Yeah.
so, but understanding now that we are going to start doing some preventative, um, uh, and I think hold on, I was trying to write them down. Remind me what you gave us some preventative when you said, oh, safety,
The pillars.
yeah, give those
Yeah.
to me.
Safety, choice, collaboration and mutuality, trust and transparency, empowerment and voice, and cultural, historical, and gender issues.
Okay. I think we're kind of understanding how to really be aware that children aren't just going to be safe with you just by telling them
No,
safe. So
no.
I think we're understanding of listening and being aware of making sure that they are feeling safe. Um, how about what next pillar do you want to go to?
Okay, so I want to go to the next step, which is language changes.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
So language changes, I did already talk about validating others. So examples of validating others that I didn't mention is you did the best you could with what you knew. I can understand why you did that. I'm proud of you. It sounds like you had a really difficult day. You didn't deserve that. You're trying your best. I'm listening. That sounds hard. Thank you for sharing. I find it incredible. So you'll notice that some of those are agreeing, but a lot of them are just saying, I'm a participant in this conversation. I'm hearing what you have to say. And that's with my high schoolers, that's all they want is someone to listen to them and not be dismissive. So that is the opposite of what many people do, which is toxic positivity. Some people have heard of this phrase and other people have not. But examples of that we hear in the school system a lot is remember your why. You know how that feels for us as adults, right? And it's usually said to us of like, you've got 500 kids on your caseload. Remember your why. You're not here for the salary. And it's like, that is so dismissive. I'm dealing with something very hard. So I want you to take that emotion and other toxic positivity phrases of everything will work out. Don't worry. There's a silver lining and bright side. It could always be worse. Don't think about it. Happiness is a choice. There's little things like that that are said are dismissive. And a lot of people do like being told everything will work out. But in my experience, I like to mirror how they cope to me. Usually it's their coping strategy that is said to me. So I always start out with validating others. And then if I know they like to be told it could always be worse, sure. But I always stay away from that. I don't use the toxic positivity phrases and I hear them a lot. A toxic positivity phrase, like I mentioned in the beginning, is like, you won't remember your boyfriend in 30 years.
Right.
Like it's not validating. Like they're saying that they are crushed right now and they want to be heard. They are sad. And you're saying, get over it. I'm uncomfortable with your sadness and let's move on.
Yes. You are telling them you are uncomfortable. That's powerful.
And that is a cultural thing that happens that I think that we are not comfortable with other emotions other than happiness. So
Yeah.
the toxic positivity phrases are there to say, I'm done with that. Like, let's get back to the happy part. And that's not the intention, of course. A lot of people say this with great intention, but we also have to respect what the people are hearing, what they are receiving. And I would like you to use validating phrases first and see how that changes your relationships with students. And if you want to use this in your personal life, go ahead. I use trauma-informed care in my personal life, but I'm here to talk about like the professional side.
Right. I love that. So our first takeaway, we're not even done. We got way more to go, but the first thing we're going to take away is tomorrow we are going to start with validating statements, validating words. And because when you said that toxic positive, it could be way worse. This reminds me, my sister once told me, gosh, I have very smart sisters. She said, like, if I was kind of boo-hooing, I had a pity party about something, and I said, oh, you know what? You're right. I don't have it as bad as everybody else. She goes, listen, if everybody did that, there would only be one person in this entire world.
I love that. Yes.
And that was like, she validated my entire being in essence with that statement. that
Right.
we can't say that because you're right. We all have the right to feel our feels.
Absolutely. And I actually say that in a much harsher way.
Okay.
And it's more so like with what happened at my school.
Mm-hmm.
It would be inappropriate for someone to say it could be worse to me
Mm.
because of the other staff at the school. Like, yeah, we are fully aware of how much worse it could be. Or are you saying that mine wasn't bad enough? Like, could
Oh.
it have been better? So these are things that were said to me. These are things that were said after a massive national
Mm.
trauma. And you're like, wow, that is so inappropriate. And it's not trauma informed. That's what I found out after. I
Mhm.
felt it was inappropriate, but at the end of the day, it's not trauma informed, it's not trauma specific, and it's not trauma sensitive.
Thank you. I don't know what else. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. I do know I want to get to that third one with structuring our session. Just, I know I don't want to run out of time because this is
Yes.
phenomenal, but I know I want to get into that third one.
Yes. Quickly, one
Yeah,
thing.
sorry, yeah, of
Yes.
course.
No, quickly. I wanted to mention another language change is
Oh,
removing violent language.
okay, tell me
So
more.
these are things that we don't recognize. Our language, our culture has very violent phrases that we use. And I didn't realize this until I realized what language had been removed at our school without telling each other to do this until I started a new job. So for example, shoot me a text, shoot me an email. Like
Oh,
that's not it's graphic in a way. And you might say, well, that's not that bad. But if you look at what was removed at our school, anything that had to do with like harm, physical bodily harm, anything that had relation to guns, because you may have a kindergartner in your class that has domestic violence. You might have a history of that in your classroom. As much as you think it's not possible, it 100% is. So I remove all violent language. I don't just tiptoe around the school that I know that this is a trigger for them or something that takes them out of their learning brain into survival brain, or at least distracts them. So I remove all of these phrases. So example, shoot me an email, take a stab at it, roll it with the punches. When push comes to shove, take your best shot, execute a plan, blown away. Bodies in the classroom is something that I call out my administrators whenever I hear that at my level. It's like we should never be talking about bodies in the classroom when they mean filling positions.
oh, I was about to ask you what does that mean, but now you just told me. Like that now I got you painted that word picture for me.
Right. So they like, but that's what it
Yeah.
is. You don't conceptualize it and then you go, oh my gosh, like, wow, yes, I never realized that. So you're going to start, I promise you after this presentation, you're going to go realize how many violent phrases we use. You're going to start identifying it and you're going to be like, wow,
I
that's,
just said hit me up to somebody.
yeah, right.
Ah,
And I'm not saying that these words are traumatizing
but
or
they
like
can be.
it's distracting at the very least.
Yes.
And it's not trauma informed because I'm going to remove that from I'm not going to say it in front of students because I
Hmm.
don't know what their histories are. And I don't know if that's going to take them out of their learning brain and start thinking about something that happened at home, something that they saw. I don't know. So just by removing that, that is another language change that I can use.
Um, Not, this is very heavy conversation. And I know that like, but this is kind of funny, but it makes sense to me now. When I first moved to Texas, I said to one of my students, I said, oh, knock it off. And he literally knocked something off my desk.
Yeah.
And that is such a silly thing. But if you look at it, like if not, anyway, like
But
how
yes,
big and misunderstood that was.
right. So the solution to that is being as direct as possible. Like I
Yes.
understand as SLPs, figurative language is important, but even the language that we use is generational. And I could present on that
Mm-hmm.
for another hour.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
we need to be teaching the figurative language of the current day versus like if I hear a 5-year-old saying it's raining cats and dogs, I was like, you've been spending a little too much time
Yeah,
with grandpa, haven't you? Like,
right. Yeah.
um, so these are just simple changes that you can do off the bat right after this. Like
Hmm.
validating emotions, removing violent language. Easy things that we can do today, tomorrow.
Yeah. Validate and language.
Yep. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you want to get to
I do.
sessions.
I
Okay.
do.
So try to be as predictable as possible, as flexible as possible, empower students, create connections. So a mistake that I see all the time, and especially at the high school level, is the teachers spend 2 minutes introducing themselves. Maybe they go around the classroom and they have the kids introducing themselves and they go, all right, so chapter 1. And it's like, oh, like that's wild. So it might not seem like a big deal to us. In our adult brains, we go, well, we've got tests. This is an AP course. We have stuff to get to, but like, we also have to foster those relationships. We have to take that time and learn about the students and make them feel comfortable, which again plays into that, all those pillars. Are they going to be able to trust us if we start 2 minutes in and say chapter 1? Like, do they feel safe in this? Like, we have to think with our students' brains. Does this make them feel safe? Does this make them trust us? Is this transparent of them? So just always reflecting on how the pillars are available, make us trauma informed. And then these considerations, yes, we work in environments that change. So yes, we could try to be as predictable as possible, but we also need to be as flexible as possible. And we also can't be 100% trauma informed. I know that you said that at the beginning, like I'm 100% ready to go. You can only be as trauma informed as the systems above you. So an example of that, I'm in a state that has no caseload cap. So my first year as a CF, I had 111 students.
No.
So I thought that was normal. And I work in a high school. So yes, the numbers are a bit higher, but I can't be 100% trauma informed if I'm seeing 8 kids in a group, or if I have to be like, all right, you guys have to get out. I have to get the next one. Sorry, you can't tell me about your boyfriend right now who broke up with you, like next student. Like, I can't be 100% trauma informed if the systems in place above us. So that could be the government, that could be like the state and federal government, that could be our state associations, ASHA, like it goes all the way up the chain. So you can do an activity of saying who's above you and who's above them and who's above them and go all the way to the top. So that's a reflective tool. We can't be 100% trauma informed unless the systems above us are trauma informed.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, we all sat with that for a minute because I think that is very current for us. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So let's I know we only have a few more minutes with you. Wanting to, I know that we are all wanting, we do all want to do better, be better. And we want to, and I think what I heard is that we can just start by doing some small, meaningful shifts, small ones, like just thinking about the language shift. Like we can't go, you're right. We can't go out of the gate and say, yep, I am 100% trauma informed. No, it's like, we'll never be culturally competent.
Right.
I mean, it's a lifelong, ever learning, but we have to first have the awareness, validate, and making those small steps. So I think you kind of did say go, and I'm probably going to mess it up, but starting with validation and language shifting.
Yes.
And then thinking about those pillars when you're scheduling and structuring your session, I guess is where right?
And I just wanted to
please.
What you just made me think about was a lot of people, when they get trauma-informed training, they start being fearful of making a mistake. And I don't want that to happen to anyone listening. So I want you to know that trauma-informed care is just as much about the repair. So when you find something out, you can say, I'm going to change something for next time. If you feel like you said something that you shouldn't have said the previous time, I remember I had never been apologized to by an adult until probably college. And I was like, you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to apologize to someone younger than you. So it is a big deal for an adult to apologize and know that that is a possibility for an adult to apologize to a child. So if you make a mistake and say, hey, you know what, you did correctly identify, I was really upset yesterday and I told you I wasn't. Thank you for acknowledging that. And I'm okay. Like, you don't need to go into my boyfriend broke up with me and whatever, like that. There's still boundaries. Trauma-informed cares about having boundaries, but you can say, you were totally right. Thank you. I'm okay. Thank you for worrying about me. I'm sorry I snapped at you. Like, that builds trust. Like, you might say, we broke trust. You can build it back. It's still totally okay. So repair is just as important. Don't be fearful of making mistakes. And then summing up everything that we've talked about, we talked about the validating emotions and language changes. Co-regulation before communication. Make sure that you both are regulated, or understanding that the kids that we have coming in aren't going to be in that window of tolerance 100% of the time. Our kids are going to be somewhere on that chart: hyperarousal, hypoarousal, fight, flight, freeze, window of tolerance. And we have to work with that. That's okay. Using trauma-aware language, routines and visuals for safety, flexible data collection, supporting IEP teams, and writing trauma-informed goals. So an example of that, many of us are still seeing eye contact goals on IEPs, right? So I explain, if whether it's an ABA provider who has made this eye contact goal, and it's like, hey, actually, here's some research about how eye contact goals cause physical harm and trauma to autistic people. Here's some research about that. This is why I don't use eye contact goals. Instead, we can say, like, attention. We can reword that differently, and still support the needs of the student without making it a painful opportunity. And this is where someone as an adult might say, my speech pathologist caused me harm. They did not change that eye contact goal. So that's something to think about. And I think that this has been a lot of information, but it's also doable steps, easy shifts that you will start identifying today and tomorrow.
I have loved this so much, and I hate the fact that we are coming to the end.
I know.
It has been such an insightful conversation. I mean, and thank you for being willing to share with us, because it's not always great, but we're all here. We're wanting to learn, and we've been listening. I think we've all been open. I love your passion because it's so authentic. It's just authentic. I know that our listeners are walking away with a better understanding. I know I am, about what trauma can look like in a child. That just saying that over that fight, just those behaviors are speaking.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that for us to, and I like that about being preventative is what we need to be. Thank you for giving us strategies for helping us. Kind of the airplane thing, put your mask on first.
Absolutely.
You're right. No, without co-regulation, there is no communication. I love that. I do hope all our listeners are inspired to take just a small step this week towards, really integrating trauma-informed practices. I'm going to put in, if it's okay, I'm going to put in your website, because I know as we are wanting to grow, they might want to, I'm going to put it in right here, and I'm going to make sure I do it. What happens is sometimes I put it in and I only send it to you, Rachel, and then it makes no sense. So I'm going to do it to everybody. SpeechTherapyPD.com. And do you mind, you said you had an Instagram. Would you put your Instagram handle in there? So if y'all want to get some more information, please check out Rachel at PTSDSLP.com. That's Rachel, Rachel at PTSDSLP.com for those that are going to be just listening. I am loving what everyone is throwing in the chat. Y'all are making, I love this. Thank you. I love that there's things that, thank you, Andrea, saying that she's going to implement tomorrow. I'm loving this. You guys love this so much. I agree, Erica. This has been so amazing. Rachel, again, I want to thank you. I don't want to let you go, honestly, but I have to. And y'all that are listening, thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed this episode, please be sure to leave us a review. Share the fact that to your fellow SLPs, tell them about School of Speech. Also, oh, don't forget, for those that are listening live and you are needing live ASHA CEUs, that before the end of today, please make sure that you go to your Speech Therapy PD account and fill out all those modules. Okay, y'all, thanks again for everyone tuning in. I know that, I mean, I can already tell that everybody has found this just as inspiring as I have. So I just can't wait to see everybody on our next episode of School of Speech. Rachel, thank you for all that you do and continue doing. Thank you, everyone that's listening, that's going to go and we're changing the world. One small step. Just as I say in my business, because I do dysphagia, just one swallow at a time. One bite at a time. Yeah, I'd do it. Okay. I love it. Love everyone. Bye, guys.